Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are in another video in which we are going to discuss a very important topic in which we will be discussing is UN working. UN, United Nations, is an organization that works throughout the world in different countries. Most of the countries in the world are members of UN, United Nations. Some are in the Security Council. Security Council means the veto of some countries, the major ones, which are the implementers or the makers of rules, laws, and regulations, and they have hold over whole the United Nations. So, what is Security Council and whether UN is working or not, we'll be discussing in our today's session. First of all, it's a little introduction. The United Nations is a complex organization with various mandates, goals, and activities. United Nations organization is a complex organization. It has various mandates, goals, and achievements also, and it has many umbrella agencies. Once for the scientific development, there are some which are for the cultural development. There are some agencies of United Nations which are for making the people, for helping the people in crisis. There is USAID, etc. These all things are in the United Nations, and they have different goals. It's a diversified fields, and it's the biggest organization that was made in 1946. Now here are some specifications, successes. First of all, maintaining international peace and security. These are some successes that we'll be discussing, and challenges and criticisms also on the UN. Let's first see its successes. Maintaining international peace and security. The United Nations has been able to maintain some security and peace throughout the world. And the first aim of the United Nations was to stop war. Like, it was made just after the World War II. It was a need of the hour to have such an organization of which all the countries should listen and adopt the things that are said by the United Nations, so that we may be able to be prevented from the Third World War, which can cause and play havoc with the face of the world. The UN has played a crucial role in preventing wars, mediating conflicts, and promoting disarmament. UN has been able to prevent wars. Whatever wars were about to happen, UN mediated, and these wars just stopped. And a lot of conflicts like Kashmir conflict and others have been mediated by United Nations, and they have been raised. And promoting disarmament. Whatever countries are having more arms, so United Nations is playing a role to prevent them from doing any sort of armament. Now we see another thing over here also, that it has been slow in the same things too, like preventing wars. In 1965, Pakistan and India had a war. In 1971, there had been a war. In 2008, there had been a conflict, but United Nations did not mediate that much, and they did not do anything to prevent wars. Yes, sometimes when non-Muslims are doing some havoc with the Muslim countries at that time, they may be just silent. But at the other times, when anybody does anything with the non-Muslim country, especially a Muslim, so they come and stop every war. And they have second one is promoting human rights. The United Nations has been able to promote human rights. Establishment of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, in which all the rules and regulations for the rights of the human beings throughout the world have been established, and it's a charter that is for universe. It's based on universe. Number 3, providing humanitarian aid. The UN has delivered aid to millions of people, and there have been millions of people to whom the United Nations have given humanitarian aid, and they have helped them in different ways. And number 4, advancing sustainable development. The United Nations has been able to advance the sustainable development goals. The UN has promoted sustainable development through Millennium Development Goals and the Sustainable Development Goals. They have established Millennium Development Goals and Sustainable Development Goals for telling the people that we are there and we are trying to work somehow on the different things in this world, and we have the million and sustainable development goals that are for the development of the world. Now, these were some of the successes of United Nations, and now we'll head towards the challenges and criticisms. Ineffective in preventing conflicts. There have been many conflicts despite the presence of United Nations. The conflicts have not been able to resolve. Since the independence of Pakistan, Pakistan joined United Nations, but the issue of Kashmir has not been resolved yet. There have been a lot of conflicts with the Muslim countries, like that in China, like that one in Myanmar, Burma, like that one in Kashmir, like that one in Palestine. These all are the conflicts that are happening with the Muslims, but the United Nations has not come forward and had a step forward to look after these issues. Bureaucratic inefficiencies. The bureaucrats are too much. It is criticized by the people, by the officials of different countries, that there is lots of bureaucracy, but it is ineffective. They are not able to take any decision. They have not the decision making capability, first thing, and second, the decisions are not on a proper time. They are not quick, and there's no any sort of quick response to any problem that is reported to them. So therefore also UN is inactive. UN is not that much active, and that the United Nations must be active, as are the expectations of the people. Lack of representation and accountability. In the United Nations Security Council, there are only 5 countries which have veto power, and they can make or make any decision or undo any decision that is made by all the countries. 30 countries make one decision, but one of the countries from the veto power says no. It means that their decision will be null and void. So there is lack of representation of other countries who are developing countries. Instead, the developing countries like America, UK, they are in hold of it. Inadequate funding. Sometimes the United Nations does not have adequate funding for funding the different infrastructure and different crisis that happens in the world, and because of this also the United Nations becomes ineffective. To see it as a whole, the United Nations has taken some initiatives and has been able to be successful in different things, but to see these issues, which are the major and serious ones for which the United Nations was made, we see that it is not anything that the United Nations must be proud of. They need to work harder, they need to perform better, and they should have initiatives for reforming themselves in order that the United Nations should restore to its level of respect, the designation of respect that every person and every country wants them to see as. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.